and I'm going to show you some video clips as part of the movies as well. Got a short ending to this session. So the last session is on delivery and resources. I've already introduced some resources to you before. So now look at delivery. So in class, so how can we help the students learn? Okay, through medium of English. Now I'm going to show you a video clip, okay, from YouTube. Okay, very short, I think 3 minutes. You try to identify, okay, the problems, okay, with the instructions, okay, given by the teacher, the big teacher. So think about what we should pay attention to when giving instruction to students. Okay, so I'll give you, okay, just show it now. So jot down some notes. Okay, I will show it to you twice. Okay, you ready? So write down some. This is the handout, the first page of the other set of handouts on delivery and resources. Giving instruction. So this is about classroom teaching. So this is the first time to show this to you, okay?
This video is all about how to give instructions to your students. As you can imagine, there's a right way and there's a wrong way. See if you can follow this set of instructions. I want you to do this calculation in your head. 3 times 3 plus 2 minus 7 times 4 divided by 8. Do you have the answer yet? Did you manage to follow those instructions? Have another go with this set. I want you to do this calculation in your head. 3 times 3 plus 2 minus 7, okay, times 4, okay, we all got that, divided by 8. Okay, what's the answer? And it's the same in your English class. If you give out a long list of instructions, by the time you get to the end, your students will have forgotten the first instruction. Here's the wrong way to give instructions in your English class. Okay, everybody, I'd like you to get out your English practice tests, volume 2. Turn to page 38, and halfway down the page, you'll see an exercise, a gap fill exercise. I'd like you to get into pairs and complete this together, writing your answers on a piece of paper, which you're going to hand to me at the end. Don't write in the book, whatever you do, but on a piece of paper, and I'll take that, I'll mark it and I'll give it to you. Okay? Go ahead. And this time, here's the right way to do it. Okay, everybody, I'd like you first to get into pairs. Okay, okay, good. Make it pairs. Next, take a piece of paper for each pair. Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do is get out English Practice Tests, Volume 2. Has everybody got a copy? Could you just lend your copy over? Just, thank you. Okay. Everybody turn to page 38. Page 38. Okay. And halfway down the page, you'll see an exercise, a gap fill exercise. Now, I would like you to work together in your pairs to complete the exercise. But I'd like you to write your answers on the piece of paper. Don't write in the book, write on the piece of paper. Okay, and I'll collect those when you've finished. Has anyone got any questions? Excellent.
basically, you have to write down what you should pay attention to. I mean, the right way. So what classify that as the right way of giving the instructions? Okay, why? What kind of techniques that you need to learn? Okay, in order to give clear instructions to students. I'll show this video to you in a minute, but try to jot down a few points first. Okay, now I'm going to replay this video.
This video is all about how to give instructions to your students. As you can imagine, there's a right way and there's a wrong way. See if you can follow this set of instructions. I want you to do this calculation in your head. 3 times 3 plus 2 minus 7 times 4 divided by 8. Do you have the answer yet? Did you manage to follow those instructions? Have another go with this set. I want you to do this calculation in your head. 3 times 3 plus 2 minus 7. Okay. Times 4. Okay, we all got that. Divided by 8. Okay, what's the answer? And it's the same in your English class. If you give out a long list of instructions, by the time you get to the end, your students will have forgotten the first instruction. Here's the wrong way to give instructions in your English class. Okay, everybody, I'd like you to get out your English practice tests, volume 2. Turn to page 38, and halfway down the page, you'll see an exercise, a gap fill exercise. I'd like you to get into pairs and complete this together, writing your answers on a piece of paper, which you're going to hand to me at the end. Don't write in the book, whatever you do, but on a piece of paper, and I'll take that, I'll mark it, and I'll give it to you next time. Okay? Go ahead. And this time, here's the right way to do it. Okay, everybody, I'd like you first to get into pairs. Okay, okay, good. Making pairs. Next, take a piece of paper for each pair. Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do is get out English Practice Tests, Volume 2. Has everybody got a copy? Could you just lend your copy over? Just, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Everybody turn to page 38. Page 38. And halfway down the page, you'll see an exercise, a gap fill exercise. Now, I would like you to work together in your pairs to complete the exercise. But I'd like you to write your answers on the piece of paper. Don't write in the book, write on the piece of paper. Okay, and I'll collect those when you've finished. Has anyone got any questions? Excellent. Go ahead.
Okay.
This isn't rocket science.
Okay, so how do we give clear instruction to students? So what are the ways to do that? As demonstrated in this particular video, what are the ways?
Pause to check everyone is ready for the next presentation.
So use pauses strategically. Okay, I think that's a very important point. You can pause, okay, strategically, okay, and then wait, okay, till the students respond to you. Okay, so you're quite confident that a student understands your instruction. Then, okay, you move on. So that's a very important point. What else? What else? Solve problems right away, very good. Okay, I didn't even include this here. Solve problems right away. Okay, so if somebody forgot to bring along a book, okay, so solve this problem first. Check understanding. Okay, check understanding. Good.
Maybe some body language, some gestures.
Yeah, you can see a lot of non-verbal cues. Okay, gestures. Okay, to help the students' understanding. Okay, it's good. What else? Keywords.
Step-by-step procedure.
Step by steps. Okay, you can see that he used the organizational language. Okay, first, next, I would like you to do this. So that would really help students understand, okay, the procedures and help them follow the instruction. So these are the things I think you can implement, okay, in your class very easily when you give instructions. So use organizational language. Always make reference to key items. Okay, I think she mentioned, okay, take out your book, get field exercise, okay, make reference to particular key items. Repeat key information, okay, so page 38, okay, page 38. Check their understanding. That's important. Check their understanding. Supplement verbal communication with non-verbal cues, okay, such as gestures. And of course, confirmation. I think that's the last part. Okay, excellent. Go ahead. Okay, students need to be rest assured that they are on the right track. So these are the ways to give clear instructions and help the students follow the information. Okay, it's good. Now let's move on to the instructional language. I think it's very straightforward. Okay, I won't spend too much time on this. So what kind of language do we use to help students, okay, understand more about, okay, your lectures, okay, your talk? I always start, okay, my lessons with sort of a recap, okay, of what we learned in the previous lesson. We'll spend maybe 2 or 3 minutes, okay. Most important thing is to highlight the relevance, okay, of the previous lectures to the current ones. Okay, so why do we need to learn something, okay, last week, and then why do we need to address a particular problem this week? So make connections, okay, with the previous session. So these are the phrases that you can use in your class. So we were looking at, okay, a particular topic yesterday. We're looking at, okay, the material design this morning. Now we're moving on. Okay, we look at the delivery, okay, instructions, giving instructions. Or as you remember, okay, that's also an important thing, is to try to establish, okay, a connection with the students. Okay, as you remember, we talked about something, okay, today we're going to go in further detail about other things. Or simply, let's first recap what we learned last time, okay, do this very briefly. So, during the class, it could be 2 hours, it could be 3 hours, I think you need, okay, to show, okay, again, the transition, okay, by saying, okay, how we move to another, okay, next point. So I think we've got that, so we shall move on to the next topic, which is about. Always clarify, okay, use clarification. So let me repeat the key points here. Check whether, okay, speak too fast. I always do that during my first lesson, okay, with the students. Okay, so whether I speak too fast or not. Or do you want me to say it again? Okay. As I mentioned earlier this morning, okay, we said use simpler language, alternative wordings in materials design, but that can also be applied, okay, in giving instructions, okay, or in a class. In other words, give examples. Give example to illustrate the point. This is what we're going to talk about, okay, I think 15 minutes later. Let me explain by an analogy. Okay, this is an important part, again. To me, when we introduce technical terms, always think of ways to help students understand by using an analogy. Engage the students. Okay, I think you know all these things. Does anyone know the answer? Okay. Care to venture a guess? This is what I learned from my colleagues last month, okay, when he gave a talk at Furen, okay, and he asked the students to give the answers, to respond to his questions, but normally students won't, answer the question. So what we did was, simply put up your hands if you think option A is the correct answer. Okay, I think it's much better, to engage the students. Sometimes students may not be willing, to talk a lot, but if you give them options, and just ask them to vote. Explained, eliciting explanation, what does it mean? Any comments? Why does it happen? It's important to encourage the students, especially for those students who are weak, in their English, and really I have to prompt them, from time to time and encourage them to answer. I always said, doesn't matter if you make a mistake. So good try, not bad, terrific, well done, great answers. Always give instruction for pair group works clearly. Work in pairs, find a partner, work in groups of 2 or 3 or 4. So all these things are useful for project work. So always check the understanding. Is there anything you don't understand? Are there any points you are unsure of? Is everything clear? So these are the instructional the language that we use to give instructions. Very straightforward, I'm sure you know all these things already. Now, let's move on to the very last part, of the whole series, on English across the curriculum. Because sometimes you have to introduce technical terms, whether you're English teachers or even, of course, content teachers, you have to introduce technical terms to students. So how do we make it more accessible, for the students, help them understand the technical terms better? First of all, I'm going to show you this clip, from one of my favorite movies. It has 2 faces, and see how how the male, the actors, deliver, his lecture. I'm not sure whether you have watched this movie or not. But they are both, in the movie, they are both the professors from Columbia University. Barbara Streisand, the literature professor, and Jeff Bridges, the professor in mathematics. So they have an interesting style of teaching, but let's take a look.
创业就像是场轰轰烈烈的实施冒险，创业的路上总是有打不完的关。
So he invited, Barbara Streisand to observe, in his class. Okay.
How do we find dy is a function of x and y? Well, y is a function of x, so we differentiate both sides. The right-hand side is trivially 0. What is the left-hand side? The left-hand side is
It's like the body line is just very detached, very alienating. I mean, you see what I'm saying? I just think that you have to relate more to the kids, engage them. You're up there with your back to the room, having a great time solving your own problems. But it's like you're having a math party and you only invited yourself. No math party. So relax, loosen up, have some fun with it.
relax, have fun. What was the other thing you said?
Loosen up. Okay, put the pen down. I'm not going to test you on this stuff. Teach me something. Anything.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If a ball is thrown into the air and its height, h, equals 100 t.
Gregory, see, what are you doing? No, turn around, talk to me.
Okay. T is time in seconds. At what limit is the speed approaching when t approaches 2
You
seconds?
lost me on absolutely. What does all that mean? You have to put it in some context, make up a story, jazz it up a little bit, you find some humor in it.
Humor in calculus?
Well, try telling the story.
Story.
Really.
Oh, okay. Once upon a time, there was a ball, and it was thrown into the air, and its height, maybe I should just write for it.
Why? No one understands those either. Just kidding. Don't give up, don't give up. Do it again, try it again.
Tell you another story.
Right, big story. All right, guys, come on, let's get a rally going here. Come on, come on.
You never could understand people's fascination with baseball. I don't see the point of playing a game where you wind up at the same place you started.
Well, actually, this should interest you because it's about stats and averages.
Stats and averages, explain it to me.
Well, see that every time a player comes up, they flash that 3-digit number, and that is the player's average. That is how many times he hits the ball in ratio to how many times he comes up
No,
with that.
no, which number is it? Equation such as the second derivative of the function f with respect to the variable x equals the constant. Anybody see the game yesterday? It's at Marrakesh with a bomb, huh? Let me try putting this another way. When measuring trajectories, if a batter hits a ball, how can we determine how far that ball will go? What are the variables needed to hit a home run? Pretending for a moment that the ball could hit a home run. The velocity with which the ball leaves the bat? The velocity, correct.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Does a rising fastball really rise?
I don't know. I'll have to ask my wife. I could not believe it. Suddenly, the room was filled with this tangible energy. We were actually exchanging ideas. We were connected somehow. Oh, they participated, they questioned, they stayed. Rose, I cannot thank you enough. I was the best teacher today that I've ever been because of you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Greg.
Okay, so that's it. Okay. So how do we introduce technical terms, technical stuff, to students? We're just looking at how we introduce technical terms. What did Rose, the Barbara Streisand, say? Relating to the daily examples. Daily examples. I can show you. This is her scene of lecture.
she is getting drunk, regretting she ever got married for the third time, mind you. My mother is so jealous she's sprouting snakes from her hair. And I'm thinking, this is perfect. We've got 3 feminine archetypes here. The divine whore, excuse me, Medusa, and me. Who am I? What archetype? Trevor?
Virgin Mary.
Thanks a lot, Trevor. No, the faithful handmaiden. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. It does prove, however, what Jung said all along, that myths and archetypes are alive and well and living in my apartment. As I stood at the altar beside my sister and her husband-to-be, it struck me that this ritual called a wedding ceremony is really just the final scene of a fairy tale. They never tell you what happens after. They never tell you that Cinderella drove the prince crazy with her obsessive need to clean the castle. But she missed her day job, right? No, they don't tell us what happens after because there is no after. The be-all and the end-all of romantic love was, Mike?
Sex?
Mike, sex. On the brain, Mike. Right? Yes. Marriage. Marriage, that's right. But it wasn't always like that. Around the 12th century, there was a notion known as courtly love, where love had nothing to do with marriage and nothing to do with sex. In most cases, it was defined as a passionate relationship between a knight and a lady of the court who was already married, and so they could never consummate their love. In this way, they would have to rise above your ordinary, going to the bathroom in front of each other kind of love, right? And they would go after something more divine. They took sex out of the equation, and what was left was a union of souls. Now think of this. Sex was always the fatal love potion. Look at the literature of the time. Lancelot and Guinevere, Tristan and Isolde. All consummation could lead to was madness, despair, or death. Clinical experts, scholars, and my Aunt Esther are united in the belief that true love has spiritual dimensions, while romantic love is nothing but a lie, an illusion, a modern myth, a soulless manipulation. Speaking of manipulation, it's like going to the movies and we see the lovers on screen kiss, and the music swells and we buy it, right? So when my date takes me home and kisses me goodnight, if I don't hear the Philharmonic in my head, I thump him. Now, the question is, why do we buy it? We buy it because whether it's a myth or a manipulation, let's face it, we all want to fall in love, right? Why? Because that experience makes us feel completely alive, where every sense is heightened, every emotion is magnified, our everyday reality is shattered, and we're flung into the heavens. It may only last a moment, an hour, an afternoon, but that doesn't diminish its value, because we're left with memories that we treasure for the rest of our lives. I read an article a while ago that said, when we fall in love, we hear Puccini in our heads. I love that. I think it's because his music fully expresses our longing for passion in our lives and romantic love. And while we're listening to La Bohème or Turandot or reading Wuthering Heights or watching Casablanca, a little bit of that love lives in us too. So, the final question is, why do people want to fall in love when it can have such a short shelf life and be devastatingly painful? What do you think? Stacy?
It leads to propagation of the species.
Mm-hmm. Brandon?
Psychologically, we need to connect with somebody.
Could be. Jill?
Because we're culturally preconditioned.
Good answers, but much too intellectual for me. I think it's because, as some of you already may know, while it does last, it feels fucking great.
Okay, so this is very good movie. Well, the point I want to bring about here is, okay, we need to put things in context, okay, and put things simpler, okay, in order to explain, okay, the technical terms. One strategies that I use a lot, okay, and I ask my students when they do the presentation, okay, the engineering students in particular, they need to explain technical terminologies, okay, to the lay persons. So one strategy that we use a lot, or the things that I introduce them to, will be the use of analogy. Okay, so analogies basically is a comparison using simpler ways to explain technical terms. So here is just an example of analogies used to explain what scientists accomplished by finding and sequencing 30,000 genes in the human genome. Okay, so this is a typical way of beginning your analogy. It's like, obtaining a very detailed map of the city. Each of the genes is like a house, and each one has an address. So when it's all worked out, you have a complete map. So this is a way to make the technical term easier for your students to understand. Okay, so I use this a lot. And my students have to use analogies to explain technical terms. So